All right, so we just came off of seeing this movie, and it's late at night. We saw a midnight screening of it at the Anthony Wayne Theater.
Yes, Anthony Wayne Theater, realcinemaspa.com. The reason we want to mention that is because we want to keep this theater in business because we love it. And James, it's the only theater you'll ever see where there's a poster for Ed Wood, Glenn or Glenda hanging up, So anyway,
James is just saying like, "Oh, what do we say about this movie?" I'm just like, "Well, let's just talk about it." Like, who gives a shit? And he's like, "Who gives a shit? It's Star Wars." And I'm like, "Yeah, but." It's 2:00 in the morning.
No, it's like it's 3:30.
It's 3:30 in the morning. We're doing this video.
So anyway, are you excited that you just saw another Star Wars movie, even though it's only been a year?
No,
that's crazy. It's the first time we've ever seen one a year apart.
Right. I'm a little upset that they're doing a movie every single year because Star Wars used to be an event.
Yeah.
It was like every, several years there would be one, and then you have to wait a really long time. And I remember, I know a lot of, Phantom Menace kind of sucked, but when it came out, it was super exciting, and everybody went to the theater.
Huge event. So I guess we got to get that out of the way first. We're beginning to see the cheapening of this. Like, you're eventually going to see a movie about the Max Rebo band.
Right.
Every little minor.
We're practically there
I
already.
want to see. I mean, look, we just saw Star Wars Episode 3.5, and now I want to see what's going on at the same time as this with Yoda on Dagobah. I just want to see Yoda sitting there. I still want to see it. Yeah, Yoda goes delirious, just sitting in the swamp all by himself, and that's how he ends up in Empire Strikes Back, where he's like kind of whack, when it begins.
There's all kinds of possibilities now that they've opened up to the world. I mean, we know since, Darth Vader is in the trailer to the movie, that Darth Vader's in this movie. There could be, after this, a standalone Darth Vader movie that takes place at some point, because you can always just have somebody under the mask, and even if James Earl Jones died,
wasn't the whole
somebody
thing
could do
kind
the voice.
of a Darth Vader movie? But I know what you mean. Like, it would be cool
this
to see,
one?
like... Well, I mean, like every...
Oh, well, because it's the story of Anakin
Star
Star
Wars
Wars.
movie.
Right. But I just mean, Vader in the mask going around. Right.
A Boba Fett movie.
I feel like Boba Fett's going to be a big part of the Han Solo thing, because he's probably the villain in it, I would imagine. It's kind of the Han Solo Boba Fett thing. I'm guessing that's what it's going to be. But let's just start with this. Did you like the movie?
Did you like it? Good. We should get to that. I thought it was okay, to be honest, and I hate it when I have that. When I like to have on the internet, it's always better when you have a strong opinion. That's what people respond to. Like, is it just fucking awesome, or does it just fucking suck? Well, it's just okay.
The difference here is this is real life, and you're not actually the angry video game nerd. If it was the nerd, you'd have to have a strong opinion.
Yeah, I know.
But in
real
life, there's a gray area. There's good things about this movie, and there's bad things, and I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there were moments that were awesome, like moments that were just like applause worthy, but those moments were all like fan service moments. So those were things that were like reliant on the other films,
which Force Awakens did too.
Force Awakens was kind of all about that. It was really just like, here's the Star Wars that you know and love, basically trying to but also initiating it for a new generation. They're introducing a new cast and everything.
The way they did it with Force Awakens, they would show, oh, here's the Millennium Falcon. Everybody remember that? And the audience applause. Oh, here's, Leia, and everybody applause. They would do it like that.
Yeah.
So this movie, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but every so often they'll show a character, but now they've gotten the big ones out of the way. Like, oh, there's the Millennium Falcon, there's Han Solo, there's Luke Skywalker. Now it's like we're down to... here's like these minor characters, so you're sitting there watching the movie. It's like, oh yeah, there's that guy who was on that planet. I remember him. This is already fading very quickly for me. By the time they get to like several movies in, like I'm already tired. I'm gonna just say I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. I think there were parts of the movie that I enjoyed. I thought that the first 2/3 of the movie was very, very slow, and then the movie picks up pace near the end. And
the action was great.
The action was great, and if you're looking for action and if you're looking for war, this is a war movie more than any other Star Wars movie. I never felt when I was watching, Empire Strikes Back or New Hope, although it was called Star Wars, that I was watching like war. This movie actually felt like a war movie to me, which is why I didn't really like the movie that much. for me, Star Wars, the original trilogy, had a lot of fun to it. There was this element of like, it's sort of a Saturday morning cereal.
It is a little dreary compared to a lot of the others. Like there isn't a lot of fun in it, which is a good way to put it. In The Force Awakens, it kind of had a lot of fun to it. Like it was just like it didn't take itself very serious a lot of times.
Sure.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it was a little bit more colorful.
Absolutely.
This one, I didn't like the characters as much. Not that I didn't like them. I didn't connect with them.
I thought that the main actress was very good, and all the people in the movie they were good in their roles, but I had a hard time caring about the characters because I just felt everything was very slow and very dry for a long time. They have a robot character in the movie. I don't remember his name.
Oh, the droid was great.
The droid character,
the comic relief droid, like sort of like C-3PO.
I felt like he was, to me, he felt very interjected because the movie was so dry that they needed a little levity. And it was very obvious to me that it was just like, all right, here's the joke part with the droid.
Yeah, he's the funny character.
He's the funny character. And I don't know. I was more a fan of than Force Awakens than this movie. I think my problem basically is that I just like the more like lighthearted, fast-paced Star Wars that we're used to with the original trilogy and even with Force Awakens. So yeah, that was my beef with the movie. But there were good scenes in the movie. I don't know how to talk about them without giving anything away though.
Yeah. I feel like it's the first Star Wars movie since A New Hope that sort of stands on its own because there isn't really like a lot of things. It doesn't like pick up where Revenge of the Sith left off. It doesn't really have, there isn't really much of a thread going that way. It's more like just setting up New Hope.
Very much so.
So it's kind of like this is the first one that kind of felt like it was starting at the beginning. Like you could watch this one first. Whereas like Force Awakens, you couldn't watch that without seeing the other ones, I don't think. I mean, you could, but it's really dependent on, you have to see, all the other episodes before you see Force Awakens.
That's very, very interesting to me that you say that, because as I was watching the movie, I felt like, why would anybody care about the things that are happening in this movie, in Rogue One, when if they haven't seen New Hope? Or what happens after? Because the whole time, they're setting up things like, well, this is something that's going to happen in New Hope, and this is something, and all these little details. So I feel like if you've seen the other movies and you have a complete picture of what's going to happen, then you're going to follow along and care. I'd be very curious to know if somebody that's never seen Star Wars, what they would think of this movie. Maybe they would love it. I just kind of have a hard time imagining that.
Unfortunately, I didn't really care a lot about the story in it because, we see what happens in New Hope. We know where it ends up. It wasn't necessary. Like we said, Star Wars is a big cash grab now. They're doing all these. Not that I'm really complaining. I enjoy going to see these movies, but the only one that felt the only prequel of any of them that felt necessary to me was Revenge of the Sith, because that showed me the part of the story that I wanted to see.
Yeah. I think one of the things that is missing from this movie that, the original trilogy had is characters like Han Solo, Harrison Ford, like his sort of cocky attitude, and, the humor of him, and just like the levity of the characters, and their, Leia, Han, and Luke, they're sort of interconnected, characters. The way they play off each other, I felt like this movie didn't have like a strong group of characters. The characters were okay, but like, if you're looking for like a really dry war movie, they were okay. But I'm looking for more of like the action-packed, sci-fi, fun romp through space. And this movie, the characters in this movie didn't really deliver that for me. There's plenty of action. I'm not saying that there's not. There's plenty of action and things blowing up and special effects, out the wazoo. But do you know what I'm trying to say? Like about like how good those original characters were and how those characters made you care about the Death Star. Who cares about the Death Star blowing up and things blowing up if you're not invested in the characters.
Yeah,
and for me, I wasn't invested in these characters because they were it was just all very dry to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, I wish I could say otherwise, but the moments that were really, really amazing were, like I said, the ones which were fan service moments, and then you could criticize it for just being relying on the other films.
That's kind of how I felt with that. And I kind of hate to do this because I know that a lot of people will just look at this and be like, oh man, just looking at it with those rose-colored glasses, can only love those original movies and can't have anything new. But it's like, listen, that's how I felt about the movie. It's just,
I mean, I thought those ones were better. Like, I think if you were to watch them all today for the first time, I think that the original trilogy you still can't beat. But not that anybody's trying to, but this is just expanding on the lore.
I mean, if anything, I mean, this movie is a tribute to those movies.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's a very
loving tribute, yeah.
Absolutely. And, I didn't hate this movie. There were scenes in the movie that I thought were really, really good. Again, this is spoiler-free, so I don't want to mention some of the really good moments that I liked. But yeah, that's my overall impression.
Okay. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I want to say one thing. Didn't it feel kind of like uneven? Like, it's hard to describe, but it felt like where you're watching a movie which could have been almost any movie. It felt like a lot of times like you're not watching a Star Wars movie. If you're able to just if you could just detach and forget, you're like, okay, I'm just watching an average sci-fi movie. Then all of a sudden something happens that's like, oh, whoa, we're watching Star Wars. And then it goes back to the other part of it. And didn't it feel like two movies kind of stitched together in a way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the movie was kind of stitched together during the making. I don't have all the details, but from what I heard, they had shot this movie and it was very dark, and then the studio said because
dark, literally?
Like dark in tone. Not like the picture was dark. Although it's in space. But
at first I thought you meant that.
But the movie,
literal picture is dark.
This movie literally leads into the beginning of New Hope, and basically the studio said, hey, New Hope is very fun and, everything. And the tone of the movie was not really in tone with that. So they wanted certain things fixed to make it feel a little more... Because apparently originally the movie was so different that it wouldn't really... Like, if you watch this and then watch New Hope, it would be like, wait, these are totally different. So they reshot a lot of things for Rogue One to kind of make it fall in line a little bit more. And I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but... But that's what I know about it.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, but I think...
great moments, but overall, okay.
I wasn't a huge fan.